We chose a universal tach that you could use just a large number of signal generators. So they make magnetic ones, they make ones that are gear driven, they make all kinds of magnet, but basically what it has to do is pulse. And so when it pulses, then the tachometer that we bought, you calibrate it just based on what you know the RPM to be. So the problem there is we don't know what the RPM is. So we know that Detroit diesels idle at somewhere between 400 and 600 RPM, roughly. And so what we did was we bought a cheap optical RPM gauge from Amazon, and I think these things are like, I think we paid $18, and it was the fancier one because it came with a case. So they're not super expensive. So we tried it on a fan inside, and we were surprised to learn that it spins at 4,000 RPM to 6,000 RPM on high. So anyway, it seemed to be working even without this magnetic tape. So it comes with these magnetic tape strips, and those help it to read it a little bit better. So we will apply this actually over here. So we'll come, and this is the flywheel here. So we'll apply it to the flywheel, and then we should be able to get a decent measurement on what the RPM is. So once we have that, we can then calibrate the speedometer. So where we chose to get the signal from is right here, this white wire, and I've labeled it and everything there. You can see it says tach. That wire goes up and around, and then up through, and then it goes inside, and it meets with this wiring harness that we have out here. You can see the white wire there. It meets with that, and then that runs all the way to the front of the bus to another little breakout like that. And so we've used that to generate the signal. And so now we're going to go ahead and try to see what the actual RPM of the engine is. And then based on that, there's a way to calibrate it with the gauges we got, and we'll kind of explain that when we get to that part. All right, so we've got the digital thing. We can see the tape spinning. We've got right at 505. 506 RPM. So next, to get a second data point, we'll turn on the high idle, see where that's at. We expect it to be somewhere between probably 700 and 900 RPM, just based on the sound. So we'll do that, and then we'll check it again, and then we'll have 2 data points to be able to calibrate our tachometer. Alright, so we're going to demonstrate how to calibrate the tach. So from the measurements we've taken before, we know that it idles at almost exactly 500. I think we got between 504, 506, 508. So it's almost right at 500. And then when we high idle, it bumps it all the way up to about 900 or so. So we'll be using those 2 points to be sure that we have the calibration correct. So when we get this, so when this comes from the factory, it will come set at 1,000. So what we do is we take our calibration button and we hold it down. So when we hold it down, it'll start up, and it will just go right to 1,000. So it'll go right to 1,000, and we know to tune it to 500. So if you push it again, so if you release, then push it again, it'll start coming back down. Then if you release again and push it again, it'll go back up. And it'll keep going that same way. It'll keep sweeping back and forth until you get it right where you want it, and then you leave it, and then it'll reset itself, and then that's the calibration that it'll take. So it's much easier than the ones where you have to know like all the ratios and all the gear ratios and all that. So we're about to demonstrate that now. So we'll hold this down and we'll start the engine up. Alright, so there we are at 1,000. Now we're going to bring it down slowly, and let's say we overshot it. Oh no, that shows 300. We can bring it back up. So now we've got it set at 500, and so it should time out here in a minute. and it will, it should stick there. There it goes, there's the timeout, and now it's set at 500. So now we'll go to the high idle, we'll set the high idle, and we know that this should kick it up once the high idle actually takes place, because ours is based on air, and we don't really have any air pressure yet, but you can hear the RPMs climbing, and we see them climbing here, and they should climb to about 900. So that's about where they're at now. So anyway, setting the tack is that easy. I'm using this particular tack package, so we were pretty impressed with it.